What's up, and welcome back to the Ramble on podcast, episode 40. It is the home of your 6-22 in last place Loyola Chicago Ramblers. My name is Zach Coe, and I am joined, as always, by my five-star co-host, George Gabra. George, we were talking about it just before I hit the record button, but I'm ready for this season from hell to be over. This team is so unenjoyable to watch. It's just been, to call it a season from hell is disrespectful to hell, if you're asking me. Just an absolute abomination. This team sucks, and I don't want to see any of them besides Miles Rubin ever again, I think.
It has been the season from hell, just from the very start of the season when you barely beat a Cleveland State team. I have no idea what their record is, but they probably should have lost that game.
Funny.
And then you lose to Mercyhurst, and then you're thinking, oh boy, this team might not be very good. I don't think we thought it would be this bad, though. If we don't win another game, which I don't think is going to be the case, I don't know. That's winning 2 games in conference play, winning 6 games overall is just not acceptable. It's pathetic. And like we were just saying before we got on here, we're pretty ready for the season to be over with at this point. I mean, the team is just not good in any facet. They're terrible. It's not fun to watch these games because they just get blown out. They're just outmatched in every physical, athletic aspect on the floor by every team we've played pretty much the entire seasons. It's been incredibly disappointing. We've got 3 regular season games left, and then we've got in all likelihood 1 game in the Atlantic 10 tournament, and that will put an end to a just god-awful 2025-26 campaign for Loyola basketball, and hopefully it goes better next year. I don't think it can go any worse than it has this year. We said our thoughts on...
Hope not.
Yeah, we've had our thoughts on Drew and just the direction of the program, and we talked about that a lot, but something needs to change, and if it doesn't change, this is just going to be the new norm. And if that's the case, that would really, really suck, because we are a program that's proud. For the last 8 years, we've been at the top of whether it's the Missouri Valley or the Atlantic 10. We've made it to the NCAA tournament 3 different times. We've had 2 fantastic runs, including a run to the Final Four, for God's sake. And now we barely have 4 wins. We have 6 wins. So it's not good. Has not been a fun season. And like I agree with you. It's when the season is over with and we no longer have to watch this team play and we can actually watch good basketball in the NCAA tournament, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's tough to say I want the season to end because, like you said, I'm looking forward to conference play. I'm looking forward to the conference tournaments and obviously the March Madness and getting a bracket, which what you said we're like 3 weeks away from the first
2
round.
weeks on Sunday, I believe, is Selection Sunday. The actual the 2 greatest days on the sports calendar kick off 3 weeks from today. So
perfect. Yeah, looking forward to that. Not looking forward to these next 3 games. Obviously, we'll see what the offseason brings for Loyola. But yeah, at this point, I'm ready to take this season and flush it. Cause yeah, I also have Cleveland State's record is 10-20. Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I could have guessed that. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess because I believe the Horizon League is the first conference tournament to tip off on Monday.
Yeah.
So 10-20. That Well,
yeah, just
should be 11-19.
And I'm looking at it now. Somehow we are ahead of Cleveland State in the KenPom, but if you had told me that this team was going to wind up 3-13 in the KenPom this late into the season, I would have laughed in your face, to be honest with you, if you said that.
309 in the net.
Yeah, just a 300 level basketball team. I mean, we're talking about the likes of UMass Lowell. IUPUI is 1 spot ahead of us.
Embarrassing.
Wow. Norfolk State, 1 spot ahead of us. We're with the likes of Albany, Arkansas,
the Great
Pine
Danes,
NJIT,
the Golden Lions, the Highlanders. Teams you do not want to be grouped with, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. Let's dive into this St. Joe's game. Obviously, I think this is going to be a pretty quick episode. I know you're pressed for time here, and so we're not going to cover some national college basketball storylines like we have been doing, but we'll have some conference tournament previews coming up and some baseball content coming up on the YouTube channel. So we'll make sure to plug that when it's coming out. But last Saturday at St. Joe's, 75-61, Hawks win. Ramblers are 0 for 9 from 3 in the first half. And I think it was a little bit better in the second half of this one, to be honest with you. But, like, you're digging yourself such a big hole by playing like shit in the first half that it's a pretty much, like, insurmountable deficit that you're getting yourself into. And it's something that CT keeps harping on the RSN broadcasts, where the margin of error for this team is so slim to win games that you have to play pretty much perfectly to have a chance. And it's just, to come out and lay an egg and 20 points in the first half of basketball is just, it's not acceptable. It's not a winning product, but unfortunately, that's what we become accustomed to in this season.
It has been 0 for 9 from 3 in the first half. They shot the ball poorly that entire first half, and that led to another putrid performance on offense, scoring just 20 points. That's 20 points, and then I believe they scored 21 points in that game against Fordham. Just not going to get the job done. They did play a lot better in the second half. They were 9 of 17 from beyond the arc, which is over 50%. So I think that might be the first half that we've had where we shot that well from 3, scored 41 points, but you said it. When you only score 20 points in the first half, you can't make a single shot from downtown, and you're losing by 15 on the road in conference play. You're never going to win those games, really. I mean, and you're never going to win them if you're Loyola bad this year. I mean, when you put yourself in that big of a hole and you've played like you've played all season long, the game's effectively over. And while they did show some fight there in the second half, they did make some shots. It was just too big of a hole to dig out of, and that was that. So tough loss again, but I mean, that's how it's been the entire year. So what can you say?
Yeah, a couple things I just wanted to touch on. Like I said, I don't think we need to break down all the X's and O's of this one and give a full play-by-play like we normally would. But one thing that stood out on the broadcast, Justin Moore misses this one, still nursing that injury. It's clear he's not, or hasn't been 100% pretty much all season. But the ESPNU broadcast said that he was going to be out for the rest of the year, which I think was news to us and a lot of people. I pointed it out on Twitter. I think a lot of people pointed it out. And we're like, wait a second, huh? Obviously, I think at this point, that's probably the best decision for him, the best decision, maybe not for the team, but like at this point, who gives a rat's ass about the team? It's about prioritizing his health moving forward. I think it was clear, like I said, that he was never 100%. I think now my attention turns to what is this roster building, that you have a guy coming off of a torn ACL and you don't have a backup point guard. It's literally the same mistake that you made last year. You had one point guard on your roster and he tears his ACL, and then you're spending the next month flailing about trying to figure out who's going to be the primary ball handler on the team. And now you have the guy coming back and you're like, yep, you're the guy again. So to that, I say what was going on there from the coaching staff. I have struggled to criticize the pieces that were brought in, because this was a team that we all looked at on paper and were like, oh man, like this is a team that's going to make some noise. I think a lot of people really liked what they did. So it's definitely hindsight to say, how is there only one primary ball handler and it's a guy coming off a torn ACL? But huge flaw on Drew's part, 2 years in a row now. And like I said, I don't think they're going to fire him, but to me, that is a fireable offense.
Yep, I agree. I don't think they're going to fire him either. And when you don't have a guy behind a guy coming off an ACL tear that can handle the ball, I think the biggest example of this one was in that game against Duquesne when they had Chuck Love, who's obviously been out for a while. Cade Dotson was out. Obviously, Justin Moore was out. You don't really have any ball handlers aside from Caleb Reese, who was a walk-on prior to this year. So when you don't have a guy who can manage the game, lead the game, be the quarterback out there on offense, command the offense, things aren't going to go well for you. And we once again saw that in this game against St. Joe's.
Yeah, and I think I do want to give them a little bit of credit, because I do think that Cade Dotson was supposed to be that guy, but obviously that's putting a lot of faith in a guy who, as Drew loved to point out throughout the middle of the season, played less minutes than Daniil Glasgow last year as a freshman. So now we're seeing Dotson in a more expanded role, and he's definitely not a guy that should be playing on ball too much, I don't think. I think he's definitely way better when he is able to move about in the offense without the ball in his hands and create open looks. And obviously, he's been really good getting to the basket, I think, as of late. He's not just a shot chucker like he was at the beginning of the season, but to ask him to fill in for Justin Moore, who was well ingratiated into the offense before the injury and everything, it's a tough ask. And obviously, like you said, Caleb Reese was a walk-on up until this season, and he's out there, he's busting his ass, and that's commendable, but he's not a Division I caliber basketball player, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're just being blunt, like, he's just there's a reason why we didn't see him except for garbage time for the first 3 years of his collegiate career. And obviously he's only had to play out of necessity, and that's not a knock on him, because like I said, he busts his ass. He's on that gold team in scrimmages, and he obviously showed enough to get a scholarship for his last year, but he is what he is.
Yep, he is, and he plays hard. I'm a big Caleb Reese fan in that aspect, but just in terms of overall basketball skill, he's not a guy that you can really rely on to win you a bunch of games at this level of college basketball.
Yeah, and then another thing I wanted to point out in this game, this is now 2 games in a row where, I mean, we talked about it, I don't know how many episodes ago, where this team just has a glass jaw. Like, it happened in the Fordham game, it happened again here in the St. Joe's game, where you start to climb back and you get a possession away, you go on your run, the opposing team takes a timeout, and then all of a sudden, all of your momentum is gone like that. Like, it's so easy to stop this team's momentum. Yeah. It's absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, like, obviously that happens again 2 games in a row. And one thing I wanted to point out is a conversation that I had on Twitter with someone, which I guess I can try to find their name, but whoever it is, the lack of adjustments on the offensive side of the ball. This Loyola team ranks, where are we, 75th in 3-point attempts per game, 75th, and in 3-point percentage per game, they rank 333rd. What in the flying fuck is this team doing, ranking top 75 in 3-point attempts per game, and in the bottom, 32, bottom 32.
32nd, yeah.
Yeah, bottom 32 in 3-point percentage made. Like, I don't understand how that is even possible. Like, I am torn, because it seems like when we hear from Drew, obviously in his post-game sit-downs, he's a trooper. He does it for every single one. And if he didn't, I would sit here and I would rip him for not facing the music. I'll just be completely upfront. Maybe that's the Boston sports radio in me that's like, okay, you're not going to sit here and talk to them because you guys are having a bad year. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I think that's owed to the fans. That's owed to all of us who spend countless hours during games, doing podcasts, listening to the podcasts. Like, I think that's owed to us. But anyways, that's besides the point. Drew talks so much about how guys just veer off from the game plan. And CT mentioned it too, where it's the usual suspects decide that it's their time to shoot the ball, and they try to be the hero, and that's not in their DNA as a player. That's not who they are, and they don't have it in them. And so I do wonder if that's part of the issue, where, like, Drew in this game against St. Joe's says the goal was to get downhill, and for some reason they got away from that. And I just don't know what's going on. And I know that we named however many players that we want to see back, but honestly, like, if this is what they're doing, like, if these guys are just going completely rogue on the coaching staff and abandoning the game plan, Miles Rubin, end of list, guys that I want to be back next year. and Justin Moore. So Miles Rubin and Justin Moore, because I've seen Moore play in this system and play successfully. So 2 guys that I want back next year. Everyone else can hit the bricks. And I think Cade Dotson has shown flashes. I think Glaskov has shown flashes. I guess I won't include the 2 freshmen, Anderson and Love. I'd like to see them back, and because I don't think really they're part of the problem. So 4 guys. A list that was once 7, I think it was, is now 4, which I think is going to have to be the case. There needs to be wholesale changes if they're going to keep this coaching staff.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a lot, but when you do that, you got to be able to hit in the transfer portal, and that's something that they failed and fell flat on their face this season at. So they've got to hit in the transfer portal, because if you bring in another garbage, lousy class that can't play basketball like they brought in this year, it's going to be the same thing next year, and none of us want to see that. So you got to be able to hit in the transfer portal, get guys who want to be here, who want to play, who are going to compete. And you don't want to get a guy like Dominic Harris, who basically quit on the team in a month into the season. I mean, what a loser that guy is. What a loser some of these guys on the team are that just don't seem to care. And when you have a group like that, this is what's going to happen. You're going to win 6 games and look pathetic, be pathetic, and just be a very bad basketball team. So you got to be able to hit on those guys. And I'm hoping they can, because if they don't, I don't know if it'll be this bad, but it'll certainly not be good moving forward in terms of winning basketball games.
Yeah, I think it's something we touched on in a previous episode, but I want to get back to championship caliber players. We need to bring in guys that have won at all levels, whether that be high school, whether that be where they're transferring up from, whether that be the subdivision ranks, D2, maybe D3, like any of these guys. I don't want to see Joshua Ola Joseph, but we've been recruiting him since high school and he passed on us twice. Like, okay, I don't want a guy that passed on you twice and fell flat on his face at both Power 5 schools he was at to then be the guy that comes in. And Xavier Ramos, I think this was a guy where I had so much high hopes for him, and like I think at this point he's kind of just playing hero ball himself. Like it's understandable, because at this point, what do you have to play for? But if you don't want this to become a pattern, you need a complete culture reset. And I think that, like I said, I think there are 2 guys that are getting regular minutes right now that can be a part of that culture reset, being Moore and Ruben, because they've been here for when the culture was alive and well. And then I think the 2 guys that signed up to be here, Anderson and Love, committed as freshmen. I think they understand what it means to play to the Loyola basketball culture. So I'd like to see them back. Everyone else can get lost.
Yep, completely agree. I'm hoping that they do come back. I have a bad feeling that Miles may be hitting the road. I'm hoping that's not the case, but we shall see in due time.
Yeah, I can't imagine why he would have any reason to stay, but maybe I'm just being optimistic, which sucks. So, anyways, I don't have too much more about this St. Joe's game. I just am ready for the Loyola season to be over. It feels like more of a chore than it is anything else to watch these games, and honestly, that's not what this should be about. It should be about having fun watching your favorite basketball team, and unfortunately this squad has sucked the life out of me in regards to
same with me,
being excited for Loyola basketball.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
So let's preview these 2 games coming up here. Week off, I saw someone, I think it was Andrew Regis, tweeted like, oh, these bye weeks make it feel like the season is already over. It's like, yeah, and then you look at the schedule and you're like here we go again. Like,
gotta go to St. Louis on Wednesday next week. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's the scene in The Departed where Matt Damon's standing in the hallway, in the elevator, his face is all bloody, and he's like, just fucking kill me. Like, that's where I'm at with that. But anyways, week off, we're back in action on Saturday, back at Gentile. Is this senior night at Gentile?
I believe it is.
So obviously sending off the seniors with a bang. That'll be Xavier Ramos.
It is not. Excuse me.
No, it is not.
George Washington, a week from Saturday, is senior day. That's the last regular season game.
So I will give I will give two of these players their flowers for senior night next week. I think you can all guess which 2 between where was I? Caleb Reese and Kamani Winsu. I think those are the only 2 that deserve their flowers for that. But anyways, Richmond taking on the Spiders. First time we've played the Spiders, right? Yep. So first time we're playing, the first and only time we're playing Richmond this year. What do you got on the Spiders?
Well, the Spiders, that's a great nickname. They got a great center court logo. So props to them for that, but they have not been very good over the last few seasons. This is another case where that is the same deal. 15-13 overall with a 5-10 record in conference play. That is 11th place in the Atlantic 10. Chris Mooney, he's been there since 2005, so very familiar with that program, obviously. But like I just said, they have been down the last couple of years since going to the tournament in 2022. 39th in the net, which is 9th in the A10. 137th in Ken Palm, offensive rating of 116, defensive rating of 188. Richmond, they have been down, and I think that they might be able to get up for this game, though, because like we said, we stink. We're really, really bad. AJ Lopez is their leading scorer. He's averaging 13.2 points per game. Lopez and his buddy in the backcourt, Will Johnston, can let it fly from deep. They both shoot over 39% from beyond the arc. And this is a team right in the middle of the country in terms of net rating and Ken Palm and all that, which is a lot better than us, and 309th of the net. I think you said 312th we are in the Ken Palm. So this is not the best team that we have faced all season long, and I do think there is a chance we could win this one at home. But again, my hopes are just not very high, considering how we have been playing basketball over the last couple of weeks and the entire season, really.
Yeah, one thing that Drew highlighted in looking forward to Richmond is Mike Wall's ability to stretch the floor, because obviously he's a big man, but he's shooting 38.2% from three, which obviously is pretty solid for a center, so he can stretch the floor in that regard. And we know that this team defensively has a tendency to fall asleep at the wheel and completely lose their man. So I could see that happening more than a couple times. Yeah, not the best team we played, but we lost to Fordham, we lost to Mercyhurst, we lost to Northern Illinois, we lost
Chicago State.
Chicago State. Yeah, take your pick of what shitbag team we lost to, and they all look pretty pathetic. So yeah, I think this is a game that is winnable, but what really is a winnable game for this team anymore? It's tough to say.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to be able to, I think, force some turnovers. We got to be able to get some rebounds, and we've got to be able to hit shots and not dig ourselves a gigantic hole like we have several times throughout the season. And even if we don't dig a gigantic hole for ourselves, we've got to be able to come out and play well in the first half and then not completely fall apart in the second half. It's that both of those things have happened so many times this year. If we could just play a good full 40-minute game, and if you get hit in the mouth early and you're down 10, get back up. And that's something that we have not done. You mentioned it a few minutes ago, the glass jaw. We get hit in the mouth, we get down, and we don't want to get back up. And that's happened every time we've pretty much been down a huge deficit. So got to get out of the gates quick here and hopefully keep that momentum all the way through. I'm guessing there won't be a ton of people in attendance for this game on Saturday. We shall see. But having the game at home does help. But I am not picking us to win this game. I think Richmond probably wins by, I'm going to guess the spread would be like 6.5, 7.5, because we're at home, and I'm going to say that Richmond will probably cover that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be 8-point spread. I'll go with it.
Okay.
Richmond has 8-point favorites, and I think they'll cover it. Unfortunately, I'm done saying if this team can put together a good 40 minutes. At this point, I'm looking for them to put together a good 20 minutes. Like, I think they've played well for stretches. It's something that's simply not going to happen for this season. So yeah, I have them losing this one in front of what I can only imagine is going to be a pretty empty house. Is it spring break yet too? I
think it's this weekend. I think tomorrow is the last day of class, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's how it was when we were there.
Yeah, my youngest sister just got home today for her spring break.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
I assume that spring breaks are starting all over. So I assume that Loyola can't be too far behind there. So yeah, I would imagine that all these students will have left for spring break by Saturday, and honestly, there's no reason for them to show up anyways. So so yeah, got the Spiders winning. Got one more game here. St. Louis kind of scuffling a little bit here, dropped 2 of their last 3 to Rhode Island and Dayton. Their loss to Rhode Island completed the A10 circle of death, where every team has beaten I don't know how to really describe it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that completed that. But yeah, down to 23 in the AP poll. I would guess that they are going to fall out by the time this game rolls around after losing to Dayton. But what do we got on the Billikens?
Well, after an undefeated start, 12-0 in conference play, they have dropped 2 of their last 3 games, like you just said, to URI and Dayton, with their lone win coming against VCU. Big comeback win last Friday night.
Yeah.
That was a good game. But
Yeah,
they
that was
are
crazy. I forget the run they went on, but they went on a massive run in the second half to just completely pull away.
Yep. Yeah, they needed that one because right now they're 25-3, 13-2 in conference play, and they're still looking pretty good for an at-large berth. I think if you would have asked 2 weeks ago, they would have been a lock. But they have lost a couple of games. I think even if they lose a couple more, they should still be in. This is a really good team, and I know Schertz and Avila, they got screwed 2 years ago with Indiana State when they lost to Drake, and they left them out of the tournament because that's what the committee does to the small conference teams or the mid-major teams. Regardless, St. Louis, they're probably going to the NCAA tournament. They got a very good team, as we saw when we played them a couple weeks ago. 24th in the net. That is the highest mark in the conference. 26th in KenPom, also the highest in the conference. 53rd in offensive rating. 25th in defensive rating on KenPom. They are a very good offensive team, like we highlighted last week when we recapped the game, like we highlighted a couple weeks ago when we previewed it. 6th in the country in points per game, 3rd in three-point percentage at 40.8%. And again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it's a very deep roster, a lot of guys who can score. Led by Robbie Avila. He only had 2 points in the first matchup that we played against them. But they have 4 other guys who average double figures, including Ishan Sharma. Sharma, he's averaging just a tick below 10. But he and Trey Green, they both scored 14 in our last meeting with them. Got absolutely obliterated on the glass in our last meeting with St. Louis. So we need to do a much better job on the glass to stay competitive in this one. And again, the 3-point shooting, we're a bottom 10 3-point defensive team, while St. Louis is top 3 in terms of 3-point field goal percentage. That's a recipe for a potential blowout. Unfortunately, I'm picking against us again here, and this is a game where I don't even think we have a chance. Like, this is like a 16 versus a 1 type of matchup. Like and it might even be worse than that because I think we're going to lose by 30, and that's just where we're at. So
yeah, I mean, if St. Joe's versus Loyola, bad 3-point shooting team versus bad 3-point shooting defense was stoppable force versus movable object, this is unstoppable force versus very movable object in terms of the 3-point contest. The two guys you mentioned, Sharma and Green, can absolutely let it fly from 3. I mean, that I said it when we recapped that game. I think it was Sharma that hit it, but that running shot to the right side where he was just kind of like fading to the right, just chucked it up, and
the circus shot, and
absolutely drained it. And it's something that Drew talked about in that RSN sit down. Sorry, the dog just scratched at the door. But it's something that Drew talked about in that RSN sit down with talking about Daywolf Tavares, where like some of his shot selections is just like it's so bad, and he just gets out of the game plan where he has Miles available for a pocket pass. And he mentioned that Sharma, yes, he takes ridiculous shots and he makes ridiculous shots, but he also has the wherewithal to kick it to somebody who's open when the shot isn't there. And I think ideally that's what we were hoping Daywolf Tavares would be, but instead he's just become number 1 shot chuck, which is super unfortunate. I think, and I agree with you, I think that St. Louis should be locked in for an at-large, like 24th in KenPom, you said? Yeah, 24th in KenPom. Like, I think this is clearly a tournament caliber team, and I think that they probably knocked themselves down a couple lines with these last 2 losses. I think maybe they're looking at like a 9-10 seed now instead of like a 6-7. 6-7. Like, honestly, they should be like a 4 or 5, if you ask me. But obviously, like you said, we know how this things work. Honestly, I think a loss to Loyola would probably knock them like firmly onto the bubble because that's just how bad we are. Even
Santa
if that's
Clara
ridiculous.
is on the bubble.
Oh yeah, they're like right on the bubble.
For loss that we handed them.
Well, and if they don't get in, they're definitely gonna say like, "Oh, well, they lost to Loyola Chicago." Like that's the only mention that we're gonna get on Selection Sunday is, "Oh, they're the reason why Santa Clara did." It's like the Clemson game in 22.
Yeah.
Or 20. Yeah, whatever year it was. I don't know. I always forget what year that was.
I think 22.
Yeah, that's literally we're the reason why Clemson did get in, and like honestly, I think that'd be really funny. If we're the reason Santa Clara didn't get in. So,
I think they got killed last night by St. Mary's too. But
did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working last night, so I wasn't super in tune to what was going on in the CBB world. But yeah, I think this is a game that we get crushed. I think the line is probably going to be like, what was it when we played the first time?
18, it was
19?
18 and a half, and then it moved to 19 and a half like that night, and then it closed at 17 and a half.
Okay, so I think it's probably going to be like 24 and a half now at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like 26, 20. I don't know. That's so high in a conference game. Yeah, probably 24-ish.
Rivalry game. Yeah. Opened 18, closed at 17. With a little bit of juice on the Billikens. Yeah. It's going to be above 20. I can say that with
that is for
absolute certainty. Yeah. Alrighty, I don't have too much left for this one. So, if you have any final thoughts here besides just fucking kill me, those are my final thoughts.
I mean, it's just, again, I'll reiterate, it's just been such a bummer of a season. We're obviously diehard fans, and we love the school, and we love the basketball team, and to see them be this bad and this pathetic and this embarrassing has just been not fun. And we're huge college basketball fans, not just with Loyola, but in general, and to not even be in any sort of discussion with March coming up on Sunday to do anything in the postseason is certainly disappointing, but hopefully we can turn it around next year. The season's going to end and get in some new players who want to be here, who want to compete, and go up from there. But I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm excited for Loyola to be put out of their misery, for us to be put out of our misery, and we can move on to 2026-27. And I'm looking forward to the postseason with the conference tournament week starting next week, and then the big conference tournaments the week after, and obviously the NCAA tournament. And I know we're going to have some coverage on that, so that'll be fun. But we'll see if we can maybe pull off an upset on Saturday and go from there. But again, eyes on 2026-27 at this point.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Just because this season is over doesn't mean that the college basketball coverage is going to stop. On our side of things, where we're junkies for this sport, so we're going to be locked into to everything: the tournament, the NIT, the Crown, you name it.
The CIT, the CBI.
Yes. Exactly. So, yeah, at this point, it sucks to say, and I'm sure some people won't like that we are saying we want to be put out of our misery here, but I'm sorry. If you're having fun watching this team, then I don't know what to tell you at this point. Good for you. You're good for you. I guess you're a better fan than me, if that's what you want me to say. But yeah, not that I've seen much of that. I think everybody on my side of Rambler Twitter is
I think everything
pretty
I've
sufficiently done with this. Yeah,
let's get
done
on
with
to
this team,
2027 or 2026-27.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll be back at you at some point next week, talking these two games, previewing the final two games of the season.
Right? We've got 3 left, so we'll be, I think, recapping these two, and then previewing the senior night finale against the Revolutionaries of George Washington.
Perfect. Thank God. We will almost there. Finish line in sight for this season. So, yep. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on all the socials for continuing coverage all the way through March and into early April as we discuss the tournament and then the transfer portal, and obviously looking for some wholesale changes on this roster, but keep it right there. Find us on Twitter at Ramble on Pod. I'm at @co_Zach. George is at GG Gabra. And on TikTok, Ramble on Pod with an underscore. George is at GGG Sports, and I am at Zach Co. I think my username is. I always forget my TikTok username, but
you got mine down.
Yeah, I did. I forgot yours for the longest time, and now I forget my own. Honestly, I do most of my posting on TikTok from either the podcast accounts, whether it be Ramble On or the Enter and Kenmore one, so I don't really use my personal one all that often, but gonna try to kick that up this year. But anyways, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're still riding with us at this point, then you're just as much of a junkie as the rest of us. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.